Hello everyone, Keith Klug here again. I wanted to share another advancement in the building view application. So in the first segment we covered a little bit on how to share a saved trend report, and that's by going into the multi-trend charting function and then finding a report, clicking the pencil, adding the report, and then once you add the reports you can select the drop-down box, and now you can quickly pull up your saved reports. So that was the first edition of the building enhancements. The second I wanted to cover is a little bit of using the checkbox for filtering. So I'm going to go into the multi-trend charting again, and in this case I'm going to select one location. Now I can either I'll uncheck the first store. I can either scroll down and find the location I'm looking for, or you can use the filter box. And in this case I want to use 7246 Richmond, and then I click the box and hit done. I want to look at the RTUs at this store, and let's take a look at all RTUs, and we're going to take a look at cooling stage 1. And in previous Pebbles I've shared how to identify some RTUs that either consistently ran say stage 2 or never ran stage 1, showing an opportunity. Those units were being impacted somehow. So perhaps this might be a report that you might want to save. So I'm going to select all of the RTUs for this store for cooling stage 1. Now I'm going to go back to July to a time that I think we were probably running cooling versus currently being November, and I'm going to chart. When this chart comes up, you can see because there are 11 points selected and a lot of on and off for a week's period of time, this data is really not terribly useful. There's just too much here to make heads or tails of it, and while I can scroll left and right and see the values in the table, whether a compressor was being called for or not, really not very helpful. I can come up to this table and I can deselect all of the units, and then I can look one unit at a time. So here's the pharmacy. We see on and off activity. I see perhaps a little bit during overnight activity, but it's a pharmacy with a different set point. Possible. It's also July. But overall I see on and off cycling. Go to the next unit. I deselect 3, select 5, hit chart. So instead of having to drill down through different RTUs, I can just check the box. And again we see on and off cycling. Now one of the options is you can fill gaps. So where you see a little gap here at 3:45, 3:15 to 3:45, there's a gap in data. And if this was a smaller window, say for a day's period of time, that gap would look a little bit bigger. But you can go into more options, and if you want to fill the gaps in using average data between the points, you can select 30-minute and chart. And now you see that those gaps disappeared. If you want to fill in gaps that are 45 minutes and chart, you can do that, and you can see more gaps have filled in. So you get a little bit better picture of the operation without dramatically changing what actually took place during that period of time. So I'm going to remove the gaps, but that is one function that you can use, and you can see how the picture is changed by removing that. But then continuing, take away unit 5 and go to unit 4. And all of a sudden we see here that compressor stage 1 is not operating at all. So for this 2-week period of time in July, compressor 1 never ran. So certainly something we would want to look into further. Obviously outdoor air temperature, other units, zone temperature, all of that comes into play whether or not this compressor is running. So let's look at a few more units. So unit 4, it's not running. Take a look at the next unit. That unit's running. Next unit, that unit's running. So I think we've established that unit 4 Oh, here's another Unit 1. Oh, the eatery. That one I believe is an abandoned unit. Next unit 9. So we can see a lot of on and off operation of the compressor. So indications are that Unit 4 compressor, at least stage 1, is not operating. So that's a little bit of how you can fill the gaps and how you can use this box to quickly go through different points without having to filter for the units each time. So hope that's helpful for you. I'll be right back with another tip.